Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Town Hall. Tonight is June 4th, 2023. So we did not have a Town Hall last week because of Memorial Day weekend. So I've got about 4 Post-it notes worth of sheets here from our conversations with Mr. Horton and Ofer, and also whatever questions you might have. So as always, if you do have a question and you're on the call, go ahead and type it in the chat and either Christy will address it or I will be able to get to it as we go through our topics. If you're watching the recording, you can put your question in the comments below and I'll grab it and write it down for the next Sunday's town hall meeting. So what I wanted to speak with tonight first was the basic 4 pillars of martial arts and what we do. So as you see in the school up on the wall, we have structure, emotion, knowledge, and legacy. And those are the 4 main pillars of everything that we do. But a lot of times people don't know exactly the extent of what it is that we do with them. So structure, we start with that because everything builds off of a good structure. Every minute of every class is structured and set up for what we're going to be doing next. So it's a very organized format. We know exactly what we're doing to warm up, to the next step, to stripes and announcements and all those things. So as you might see in the upcoming weeks and months, I'm also teaching that to our new instructors so that they follow the same format. So the basic goal with structure is ultimately, it doesn't matter who's teaching class, it's always going to be the same structure in format. But naturally, we don't want just a bunch of robots. Everybody's going to have their own personality or different injections into class, if you will. But they have to follow the same format so that way the students know what to expect. This is why a lot of times we get great results with kids that are with different conditions like autism, the ADHD, whole venue of all of those, and OCD. Basically, kids that want that structure and know what to expect do really well. So after the first couple of classes, they understand, oh, okay, we're going to bow in. Oh, we're going to do a warm up. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, so they can feel comfortable in that format. So even if your child doesn't have any type of condition, they still do better with structure. And this is one of the times we talk a lot of time with parents about having discipline and rules, that there's a lot of times where your child will fight the rules or not seem to like them, but they do like the structure of knowing where that boundary is. So there's a conversation we can have about consistency. If you have a set rule in the house, or rules in general in the house, and the kids know what they are, they're generally going to be less stressed because they know what the rules are. They don't have to like them, but they know, right, what they're expected to do or what's going on. For example, when you walk in the karate school, what are you expected to do? Right? You bow and you say, yes, I can. Right? So by doing that, that is showing good structure. And if the kids don't do it, I don't need to yell at them. I don't need to give them extra push-ups and scream like we would in the old days. You basically, okay, that child's just showing me that they need to practice their structure a little bit more. Same thing with, did you check in? Did you put your bag in a cubby? Are you sitting down by height? All of those things. That's why we put everything in our system has a structure to it. There's nothing that is just left to chance or random, and we're always looking to make sure that it's the best situation possible. So second is emotion, and this is where a lot of times, in my opinion, we'll put it that way. In my opinion, the school systems and education institution have it wrong. The school system is going to start with structure, and then they're going to go to knowledge, and then eventually if they add in emotion, it's a bonus. What we found is putting the kids in a high emotional state, they learn faster and they retain the information twice as long. So if they're doing something that's fun, enjoyable, and obviously that they like, they're going to pick it up faster and they're going to remember it longer. The example that we use all the time would be video games. How long will your child play a video game? All day if you let them, right? Because it's fun and it's challenging, they're enjoying it, but at the same time, right, they have to figure out the next stage. So there's something to learn, but they're in a high emotional state trying to get to that next level. So that's why knowledge is always placed after emotion in our system and how we develop those pillars. So a high emotional state is going to increase the learning, as I mentioned. It's going to help retain it for much, much longer. And that's why we like to be able to do that in all of the class formats. We want to get the kids in a peak state quickly, and then that way they're going to maximize their class time. That then takes us to the knowledge. Now that we've got them in that peak state, we can teach them something. And over the years, what we've seen is, as I have gotten better as an instructor, I've actually had to teach less. And this is one of the great things that Ofer has spoken to us in the last couple of weeks, that the mistake, or not the mistake, a newer teacher doesn't have the nuance of the skill of teaching. So they only have the material. So when they run out of material, the only thing they can give you is more material, right? So an example in martial arts. This week, we're working on front kick, as we did last week in class. Right. So as a new instructor, they only know the front kick. Well, we chamber, we kick, we rechamber, we set it down. Okay, we're going to do that. And after about 5 or 10 repetitions, a couple of minutes, they're done because they don't know what else to do with it. And this is where Ofer has helped us elevate our teaching skills by, okay, we're going to do front leg. Now we're going to do back leg. Well, now we're going to put them together. Well, now we're going to switch sides. Well, now we're going to go around the room in different directions. Well, now we're going to face a partner. Now we'll do it on a back. And so we take one element and we just change that element all the way through. And now we can get the kids working on a front kick for 30 minutes and they're never bored. But that's not their responsibility. That's the instructor's responsibility. So that's one of the great things about working with Ofer and Mr. Horton and being able to elevate the teaching skills. So what goes back to the knowledge, and what I'm getting at is, in the old days, we had 20 different forms that had to be memorized, had to be learned. You had 15 kicks, basic, intermediate, and advanced. You needed to know the order. It was all memorization because that's all we knew. We didn't know how to educate the person. We only knew how to teach the system. And once we've learned how to work and teach the child, right, everything just changed, right? Light bulb went on, doors have opened up, all kinds of things have happened in a positive way to make the experience for the kids a whole lot better. So knowledge is important after emotion, and that takes us to legacy. And legacy means we want to make a positive impact in your child's life for the rest of their life. And as we've said, there's no correlation between a great sidekick and a great life. So I don't really care about the front kick, the side kick, the horse ride stance. I want to see the improvement in the human being and how they're going to use those skills. That's why, again, in the old days, you had to learn Japanese or Korean, depending. I've taken both systems or different styles in those languages. And so you had to know Yoko Giri, all right? And if you messed up, you got push-ups, right? And so it became a different process. And as Mr. Horton taught us, he's like, when are the kids going to use the word Yoko Giri out in the real world? They're not. So it doesn't translate. So everything we put in the classroom, we want it to eventually translate out into their real life, which takes us to legacy. So those are the 4 main pillars of everything that we build off of. We have a lot of new members coming in. And so I know that's something we don't spend enough time on. And I want to find a way to do that. This is one of those ways. That's another quick thing. Why did we start doing town hall? For exactly the same reason, going back to knowledge. What I found in the past, as I think back about 6 months, something will happen in class and it will trigger a learning opportunity, and I'll share it with that class. But then right afterwards, I start thinking, man, there's 80% of the students aren't in this class. So they missed out. They didn't hear about it. And it's not your responsibility as the student to make sure you're there for every day, every class. That's not possible. And it's not even reasonable. So how can we help do that? Well, whenever a teaching moment came up, I'm starting to write them down on my notes so we can share them here in the town halls. Plus then conversations that I have with parents during the week. I write out those questions. Christy gets a lot of questions, and so she'll be able to write those down, and then she brings them to the meeting as well. So lots of different ways that we want you guys to get the information and be able to build into learning a little bit more about what it is that we are trying to do with the program and eventually with the kids. Because if we're on the same page, then obviously we're going to be able to help your child out a whole lot more. So speaking of that, hello, Christy.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, the Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
Unfortunately, you can't see me. For some reason, the security is set on my webcam and it's not letting me access it. So,
All right.
so
Well, then we will miss your $1,000,000 smile. And so now my camera's starting to lag as well. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that. What were some of the questions you have received while I grab a drink real quick about
uh,
what we're gonna work on?
I've had several questions about the spring championship tournament.
Okay.
Um, are there participation trophies? Are there prizes for first, second, and third place? What, because it's the first one that we've done with most of these students. Um, there's just a lot of what ifs, and should I sign my child up? He doesn't like competitions. He's afraid he's going to lose. So there's a lot of that wondering going on.
All right. Um, Let me tackle all those. I'm gonna mute you again. See if you can unmute yourself in a few minutes, just to make sure our I don't know why the video is going so slow, but by muting you, that might take care of it. Let's see. As a matter of fact, see, Yuki says yes, you should do it. I printed up a bunch of the flyers because Christy and I were actually talking about it this weekend. And so, yes, because we haven't done one in so long, I can understand a lot of the questions. Ultimately, what the goal of the championship is to put the kids in a pressure environment, have them compete against their peers, and have a successful experience with that. Now, that is going to vary, right? That answer is going to change person to person. So what that means would be, no, I don't believe in participation trophies. I never have. So we're not going to do participation, but we are going to do medals, and we're going to make sure that every child earns a medal for what it is that they do well. So again, we've got about 12 different divisions or 11 divisions. And so I don't necessarily want to go through all of those per se, but when you pick the division, in short, what's going to happen is there's going to be a maximum of 4 people per division. And we're going to have medals for first, second, third, and fourth place. Each position is going to earn points. And for those points, then we're going to add up. So that way we have a grand champion for the end. All right, Yuki, that's enough. Hey, stop it. Thank you. She'll go right back to barking in a second, just like having a kid. Not really. But so we'll have different points from different divisions. And so 1 through 4, they'll earn points, and then the points get added up for grand champion at the end. So yes, in essence, what we want to do is we want to put the kids in a competition environment so that they feel the pressure of competition. But at the same time, it's an environment that we control. Since it's our tournament, it's our students, it's our division, it's our rules, we can guide that process. If you were to go to a general karate tournament, there's a lot more variety, variation, different rules for different places. It's not always fair like any sport or activity would be. So our goal is to be able to put all of that aside and make it a fun event, but at the same time, do make it a competition. What will happen also now is the points that the kids earn. We do the tournament 2 times per year. So the next one we're looking for is October. And so May and October will be the tournament times. They'll be able to take the points from May, add them to October, and then we'll have our 2023 standings. So our whole year, as well as each of the individual tournaments. So that'll make it a lot of fun that way. Christy and I were talking about some of the questions that we were getting. So for example, that's why I printed up a bunch of the flyers. A lot of times parents were saying, oh, I printed the flyer, I forgot to bring it. The second thing that we were running into is we were trying to do cash or check only, because we avoid the 3% fee that my studio charges for credit card transactions. But a lot of people, oh, I didn't get to the bank, or I don't have a checking account. That was running into more problems. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have these at the school tomorrow, and then you'll be able to fill them out. And if you want us to, we'll just charge your account through my studio for the total amount. We can only do it that way. We can't really set up the event and have you pick, because 11 events, there's so many variations, it would be next to impossible to program that. So this would be a good way to do it. So again, we'll have this at the school. fill it out real quick, turn it into Christy or myself, that day, and then we'll be able to process it. The registration ends the 14th, which is a week from Wednesday. So again, there's technically 10, 11 days. So I say 7. This is what we do as leaders, is we're always moving, faster, or compressing time. So we want to try to get everybody registered by this week, so then we can get everything created, set up, and put in place. So go ahead, Christy. Does that answer all those questions, since I got distracted by Yuki there?
Yes, I think that did. It clarified things, and we can always talk to people one-on-one in class as well, but I think that was a good summary. I think the only other question I had this week that I got multiple times was about the sponsoring. Was just, do they have to sign up by the 19th for a membership, or just the trial? Does the trial have to start?
Got it.
So people just needed a little bit more clarification on that.
Got it. Good. That is a super question. So no, they do not have to enroll. What we're doing is, this ties back into some of my notes about the summer slide. In a couple of the classes this past week, we started talking about the summer slide, and when I started asking parents, there was a high percentage of parents that weren't familiar with the term. So let's back up a couple steps to move forward to answer the question. Summer slide basically happens every year when kids get out of school mid-June, and then they don't do anything for July, August. By the time they go to school in September, teachers are finding that they've lost anywhere from 3 to 6 months of their education. So they're having to spend the first week, or even 2-3 weeks, getting them back to where they're supposed to be, building the foundation, so that they can then move forwards. So this is part of the stress that teachers feel every year. So that was one of our things, was, well, let's help the schools. I've always been interested in trying to help the school districts and help the teachers, because we know that a lot of the things they do, they're handcuffed with what they can do, what they're able to do, the group that they have. So there's all kinds of things that way. So anything that I can do to help is definitely a goal. So we're going to be doing the patterns and the different drills and exercises with the kids all summer, to make sure that their brain stays sharp, so that when they go to school in the fall, they're going to hit the ground running. So that got me leading down the path of, well, we want to help more kids do that. So, but in order to do that, right, if everybody was to invite a friend to come and join us for the summer, right, that would help the schools in the fall. So what we did is, between now and June 19th, if you would like to sponsor a friend to come in, normally we do a 2-week karate trial. And at the end of the 2 weeks, they decide if they want to continue or not. So what we're going to do, by any of your guests that sign up, they're going to get 4 weeks, or a full month of classes. So they get 2 extra weeks. And then we're also going to give them a uniform, which is $70 retail. And those are going to come as a gift from you, the sponsor. Then at the end of their 1 month, if they enroll, or when they enroll, they are going to, or we're going to give you $200 cash, and that will probably go towards your next tuition payment. So haven't completely figured that out. We'll talk to each person. It'll either be prestige bucks if you want to use it at a later time, or we can use it on your next tuition payment. So depending on if you've prepaid, or if you're on a monthly membership, that would start to vary those things as well. So in short, as long as your friend has registered for the trial by June 19th, and they complete it by the end of July, then they would be eligible for the 4 weeks, and you would be eligible for the $200. Other than that, we certainly always want to invite people into the program. We are always looking to help more kids. So if you have a friend that you do want to sponsor at a later time, you can do that. They're going to get the 2 weeks, which would be the normal setup. And then we'll figure out maybe a bonus at that time, but they would not get the uniform, and you would not be eligible for the $200. So same, did that answer that question?
Yes, it did.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So those are your 2 questions. Let me go through my stuff here. I will mute you again real quick. So summer slide, boom. Other than that, a lot of the conversations we have with Ofer on our Thursday calls, they go deep, but they can bounce quickly, and which means they can sidestep and go off onto another topic. So let's see some of the things that we've talked about. There's three types of people in the world. There are people that make things happen, people that watch things happen, and people wonder what the heck just happened. So when we're working with the kids, what group do we want them in? What information, what education do we want to give them to make them leaders? Naturally, we want people who make things happen. And that's part of what we do in the leadership program when we teach the kids the pillars. They get to journal every week with what did you do this week? How did it make you feel? And how are you going to do that moving forwards? We're doing that with all the students, for example, working on that success ladder with their goals, trying to get them to forward think and plan ahead and not just react. So that's always a good skill and habit to develop into. Let's see here, see if I can read my notes. Next one. Oh, we had a fun one. Talking about your right, having conversations with people in general. And then we took this to the next layer down of parents talking to their kids. Whenever somebody tells you you're right, they're not really agreeing with you. They are basically just looking to either give in, give up, or end the conversation. What you're looking for in vocabulary and mindset, more important, is, oh, that's right. When somebody says that's right, they're now agreeing with you and aligning with that frame of thinking. So an example could be, child comes in for karate class, and let's use an example. So without using names, we had a new little dragon start probably about a month ago now. Parents pulling their hair out. He's getting sent home almost every day from school, bad behavior. They're at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. Now, if I just sit down and I say, well, you need to do this, 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 and this, right? And give them a list or even just a couple of things to do, right? That's when you're going to get oh yeah, you're right. Right? So when I hear that back, I know it's like, okay, you're not buying into this. You hear what I'm saying and you think you should do those things, but you don't believe it yet. And so instead, when you hear yeah, that's right. Now they're internalizing that process. So in that conversation, we went down the path of talking about mom guilt. And we talked about that a couple town halls ago. And so I was happy to hear that she not only looked into the resources that I gave her, she actually had purchased one of the books, was about halfway through it, and she came back to me with a couple questions. And so it was really good. So that particular resource was Parenting Your Powerful Child, which I've talked about before and I've shared with you guys. The other one is my ebook on mom guilt, what it is, how to deal with it, and that thing. She finished that whole thing real quick and then went ahead and purchased Parenting Your Powerful Child and was seeing some good results with that. So whenever you're talking with your child, you always want to try to align with them and get a that's right instead of a you're right. Seems like a subtle difference, but it's definitely something that you want to pay attention to and work on. Speaking of, we'll stay in that realm here, programming your brain. So this is another one we spent a whole lot of time talking about, several hours. What messages are you sending to your child? And so the example that we talked about is, what is your relationship with money and what are you teaching your child about it? So growing up, what are some things that we heard? Money doesn't grow on trees, right? Well, by saying that, you're telling your child that money is hard to get, right? And that they're probably not going to have very much of it when they grow up. That's not the mindset that you really want to give to your child. Now, it might be true. You might be having a hard time with money. It might be situational. It might be circumstance, right? It might be you were never taught yourself. There's hundreds of reasons why, but our goal is we don't want to pass any or all of our bad habits to the next generation. And so we got into suck it up, right? Moms, raise your hand. Have you heard that from dads? Right? A lot of dads say that. Life is hard. Deal with it. Suck it up. Right? That whole sentence goes together. Money doesn't grow on trees. And so when you're teaching that to your child, right, you're giving them a picture of what the future is going to be like. So when we start to think of something, that starts to become our expectation. So that becomes our cognitive bias, which means that's what we work for. All right. That's what we're going to see, and that's what we're going to do. So why not have, when we have the opportunity, program the positive things in there, right? You're gonna do great when you grow up. You're gonna be so happy, right? You're gonna be able to do these things, blah, 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 whatever it is, which took us to a third path. One of the parents, I caught it this past week in class, which takes me to my next note. I'm so proud of you, right? And again, right idea, right desire, wrong implementation. When you tell your child you're proud of them, you're saying you, the individual. And instead, you want to praise their effort. You want to find other adjectives around it so they can use that skill. That takes us down the path of entitlement, right? If I'm proud of you, I'm so happy for you, right? You're so good. You're so great, right? They're going to be able to sit up, peacock a little bit. Well, yeah, I am. I'm awesome. And we want them to think they're awesome, but more importantly, we want them to think they're awesome because of the choices they make and the things they do. Big, big difference. Instead of being proud of you, I'm really proud that ... right? Donovan had a soccer game today, and Christy and I talk about this all the time after each of the events, that instead of saying, wow, Donovan, I'm really proud of you. You did really great today, right? Try to find something specific. Wow, Donovan, I really liked how you hustled out there on the field today. You were ahead of everybody dribbling the ball. Or it was really great when you got back on defense ahead of everybody else on your team. I was so happy to see you score that goal. So everything is tied to the events and those things that we're looking more for, so that he does more of that action. So that's basically you want to look for in karate class as well. Instead of I'm proud of you, I'm proud of how hard you worked today, right? Kids class, the past couple of weeks, what have we noticed? Parents, what have you noticed? I'm sending the kids to you just dripping in sweat by the end of class. And yes, it's summertime, but it's not because it's hot out. I've got the air on. And again, go back to those 4 pillars. There's structure to everything. The air comes on as soon as the school hits 78 degrees. And it's brought down to 73 degrees every day, all the time, no matter what. So that's some of the structure aspects going back to that. But the air conditioning's running. The kids are just working really hard. So when they come to you at the end of that class, wow, I'm really proud of those burpees you did, which is what we did last week. I'm really proud that you finished that whole set. You stuck to it, right? That's a great attitude. Find the skills and habits that you want your child to have, praise those things, and you're going to see them be able to replicate them in other areas. So that'll help out a whole lot as well. Charisma. Charisma was a great one. So charisma, teaching the kids proper charisma. Having a good charisma is not walking into a room, peacocking and saying, I've arrived, right? It's not I'm here. It's being able to walk into a room and saying, I see you, you're there, and making people feel warm and welcome, right, in that room. Not because you've entered, but because you see them. And so that was a really good conversation that we had at length, talking about how to teach that to kids, right? That people have an understanding of charisma, right? Somebody walks in the room and they get everybody's attention, right? That's a great charisma, but can they get that attention because they make everybody else feel welcome, right? Watching the past couple of weeks, Ms. Lito is already great at this. She has a very warm personality. She is very easy to talk to. As soon as the kids walk in, she starts up a conversation with them. And so what do I hear back all the time? I really like Ms. Lito. She's got the proper charisma that we want to develop into all of the kids. So that's definitely a great, great benefit. Oh, the big one, going back to the brain. So we found Ofer was talking to us about the studies. If you say something about yourself or internal a feeling or emotion 50 times, your brain will start believing it, which means it will start acting that way. So our example was, I'm so stupid, right? I don't have any friends. I'm ugly. If they say that 50 times, then the brain starts acting as if that's the case and looking to prove it, which sends them down that rabbit hole. That's it. It only takes 50 times. So now again, how do we counteract that? As soon as you say, no, you're not, you've now drawn an adversarial line between the two of you, and it becomes a debate or an argument. And that's what we want to avoid. You always want to align with your child in conversations. And so instead of giving them the opposite answer, right? Because naturally, well, I've just said I am. You said I'm not. I have to prove you wrong. That's basically the primitive brain and how it starts to work. So what we want to do instead, why do you think that? Right? Wow. I'm surprised you said that. I don't believe that at all. So by offering other inputs of information, they can now think about what you said and potentially make a different decision. So again, this is something we could spend a long, long time talking about and getting into. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions, or again, if you guys give us specific examples of what it is that you're facing at home, I'm more than happy to brainstorm those as we go. But that was definitely a great one, and it was a surprise to us. 50 times is all it takes. And so anytime you hear your child talking negative about themselves, right, huge red flags should go up, and it's something to tackle right away. So I'm going to say programming the brain. I think that's it for my notes. I think I've been talking all this time and I don't see any questions. Christy, if you want to check, if you're able to, if you want to check Facebook real quick, I posted about an hour ago if anybody wanted any questions answered. And so I will grab a quick drink while I catch my breath and you do that. Or in case she is not there, since she doesn't have her camera on, I don't know for
Hi.
sure.
Hi, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
checking.
Good. I was just going to check as well. So I do not see any questions under my question. And that's okay.
You beat me to it, but I don't either.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. What do we say?
Trust, but always verify.
Correct. And I asked you to do something, or Mr. Horton asked me to do something. What do we say?
On it.
Oh, I'm on it. Okay, so that's one of the big things they taught us as leaders. Get it done, get stuff done. And so being able to take care from that. All right, so takeaways. What do you got for us, Christy? I don't see any questions from parents online.
No.
What was an aha? Give me a quick aha.
You're putting me on the spot here.
I am.
Well, one of the things that you touched on that hit me really hard in Rhode Island was the charisma.
Yes.
That was an aha moment for me out in Rhode Island. I loved that.
Absolutely.
I've never thought of it that way, but it is every time that somebody walks into the room with that you say has charisma, it is because of how they make everybody else feel. It's not just because, oh, they're really popular, or, oh, look at how they're dressed. It's because you know that you're excited for them to be here because of the way they make you feel.
Yes.
So.
Like when you met Mrs. Force.
Oh my gosh, I love her. Instant BFF.
That's charisma.
Yes, absolutely.
She has phenomenal charisma. All right. Well, then we will wrap up this evening's town hall. Again, as you guys have more questions, please feel free to give them to us. Post them in Facebook. I will post this video in the Facebook group once it renders, probably in about half an hour or so. And we will see you guys in class this week. Championship, right? Let's get the kids involved and included in that. It is a big deal. We want them to face that competition and be able to be successful. Going back specifically to Christy's question or comment earlier, right? My kid's afraid of competition, right? Boom. We need this, right? Those are the things that we look for and that we hear. My kid doesn't like to compete. Good. Enroll or register for the tournament, right? We've got to get them over that fear, because there's always going to be something that they're going to need to compete for in order to be happy in life. So again, this is where we process, and this is where we authorize everything. I'm not thinking about a tournament anymore. When a child tells me they're afraid to compete, right? I'm thinking about, okay, well, they're going to be in high school and they're going to want to apply for a college or a job or a trade school, whatever it is they want to do for their future. They're going to have to compete for that job, right? They're going to find somebody that they like and want to make them a significant other. Well, they're going to have to compete and beat out other people that might interest that person. Life is competition. And if we teach the kids now how to tackle it, they're going to be so much further ahead than all the kids that remain afraid and back away from any type of challenges, right? Being afraid of challenges, that's not what we do. Failure is our friend, right? We don't freak out, we figure it out. So all of these things go back to that structure of what we have in the program, and looking forward to sharing them with everybody. All right. Have a great Sunday evening or Monday morning if you're watching this during the week, or as I've been told by some of the parents, happy Friday from this past Sunday. It doesn't matter when you watch the stuff. Just watch the stuff and let me know you guys watched it, what you took away from it, and if you have any future questions. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.